Let's talk about Ansible again. Last time we configured Ansible and used a very simple playbook and a very simple inventory file. We also had to use a password to connect to the remote server, and we had to type that password every time when we ran the playbook. In this video, I will show you how you can configure SSH keys for Ansible so you don't have to type that password. I made a blog post about this topic which you can see on the screen here, and I will share the link under the video in the description. Now if we go to Visual Studio Code, we can see our first inventory file. We had an Ansible user and an Ansible host in that file, and the Ansible host is the IP address of my remote host. Now let's go to my terminal and run the same command which we ran before. Ansible playbook. We need the inventory file and also the playbook. It didn't work, so we tried to use ask pass, and Ansible started to ask for a password. And I can run it just to be sure that it works. Yes, of course it works, but now I don't want Ansible to ask for a password every time when I run the playbook, so I want to configure an SSH key. And the first step which we need to do is generating an SSH key. Now I can go back to my blog post, and if I scroll down, we can find the command which we need to run. You can run SSH key again without any parameters if you want to use the default options, or you can run the following SSH key again command, which will change the path of the Ansible or the private key for Ansible, and it will also change the algorithm. Now let's copy this and paste into the terminal. Now we have to type a passphrase, or you can also leave it empty if you don't want to use any passphrase, but I will use now. So let's do it. And I have to type it again. And now I have to install a public key on the remote server, and I can go back to my blog post here and copy this command out. Of course, you need to change your IP address. This is my IP address in my local environment. And again, you need to change the username too. Now I need my password, which is the SSH password. This is not the passphrase yet. It is installed. And if I try to run this command here, it will still ask for a password, because now we also need to configure the client. If you want this command to work, you can again go back to my blog post, and at the end of the blog post you will find how you can configure the SSH key without Ansible. But now I don't care, because I want to configure Ansible. So this is the configuration which we have to insert. We need this SSH private key file variable. Let's try this one. And we need to insert it after Ansible host. And if I try to run the playbook again, this playbook, and now I don't need the ask pass option, of course. Let's try this. Now it will ask for the passphrase. Now I type my passphrase and press enter, and the playbook will run, hopefully. Yes. And if I try to run again, it seems it doesn't ask for a passphrase. And the problem is, if you wait long enough, it will ask for a passphrase again, and that long enough is not really long. So now we need to configure an SSH agent, and for that we can go back to the Ansible documentation, and I have a link here somewhere. Yes, this is here to configure the SSH agent. And everything is here in the official documentation. So we can start a new bash shell using SSH agent. And now you can notice that our virtual environment is disappeared from the prompt, but Ansible commands are still working. And now I still need to use one more command, which is ssh add, and I have to add the SSH key which I generated. Okay, I need to type my password or passphrase again and try to run my playbook again. It works, and if it is not enough, you can also try something else. You can try to log in using a simple SSH command. And it will work as well. So I will exit. If you want to see the virtual environment in the prompt again, you can simply source the virtual environment again, activate it. But as you could see, it worked even without sourcing the environment again. If you don't want to use an SSH agent in your local environment where you have nothing important, probably, then you don't need to use SSH agent and you can exit from this agent shell. And let's check the playbook again. Okay, it is asking for the passphrase again. Now, which I want to try is the SSH command. And it asks for a password. Okay, now I will go back to my blog post and copy this very short SSH config. And I will use this to use the SSH key. And if I save this and try the SSH command again, it will ask for the passphrase. Now, if you don't have a passphrase, then of course it will just work and you can log in to the remote server. Now I can even remove my Ansible SSH private key file variable from the inventory file and try running the Ansible playbook again. And as you can see, it asks for the passphrase, so it is using the private key without configuring it in the inventory file. Now you know how you can configure SSH keys for Ansible. And as always, if you want to know more, follow me and I will teach you more.